Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show. Next up, it's the Conscious Parenting Show with Sandra, Jones-Keller, and family. Let's bring them on to reintroduce themselves, the show, and what's up for today.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We are happy to be here. Hello and welcome to the Conscious Parenting Show. I'm Sandra Jones-Keller, conscious parenting coach and author. And today joining me is my husband, Thomas.
Good day, good day.
So usually it would be three of us, our daughter, Mecca, but she is off on college.
Right.
Not on college, off at college.
So we are officially empty nesters. And this is the first show we've done without her conversation in it.
Yeah. So last month, we started a conversation called Empty Nesters Part 1, Becoming Empty Nesters. And it was about a week before we were going to drop her off at school. And so now we've been at it for about a month. And so we're just going to talk about being empty nesters. We are broadcasting live on News for the Soul Radio and my YouTube channel, Sandra Jones-Keller. You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net or call in to 646-595-4274. Maybe you have questions about discipline or bedtime or tantrums. Whatever is on your mind, we'll do our very best to answer it from a conscious parenting perspective.
Or empty nester round 2.
Empty nesters round 2. So
last show we just talked about what it would be like to be empty nesters. Now we can talk about what it has been like to be empty nesters.
So we dropped her off August 19th, I think was the last time we saw her. So Thomas, how are you doing?
Well, it's actually been full of everything from happy to sadness, from joy to missing her a lot, from really laughter to an empty house or empty bedroom. So it's been everything. I did prepare for it about 3 months ahead of time. Every morning when I do my 3 gratitudes, I would look at her baby pictures, her young pictures on our living room shelves and cry. Not because I was losing her, but because she wouldn't be in the house anymore. And it's a big initiation, not only for the child, but for the parents or parents. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, we've talked about this. I've actually been preparing for a couple of years because we homeschooled our daughter the whole time. I was the primary homeschooler, although she was doing most of her work online, but there was still, stuff to do. So a couple of years ago, I started preparing for her leaving. So you did 3 months. I did a couple of years.
What do you mean 3 months?
Well, you said you were preparing for the last 3 months.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I've literally been preparing for a couple of years, especially as a homeschooler. We are all in. We spend hours. I've been on hundreds of field trips.
Yeah.
We've driven hundreds and probably thousands of miles for field trips and outings. And so we've been all in. And then it's like
suddenly none of that. It's done.
See ya. We did a homeschool co-op where I was a co-teacher. And the last couple of years, we did a book club with our co-op.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we did world history and big history and science. So it was a large part of my life. And then it's like, okay, well, bye, and then they're gone. So yes, it's a big initiation.
Well, you want to get into the conscious parenting of it or just the initial experience? Some more.
I think it's all conscious parenting because our intent is to be conscious parents. And I think we are that.
The show, yes.
And so that's how we've lived our life.
Yes.
And then inside of conscious parenting, we have real life experiences.
Absolutely.
So it's everything. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's everything.
That's what I was going to say.
Of course you were. So talk a little bit about your experience dropping her off because you were really, really emotional. Oh my gosh! Yes.
Dropping her off.
Yeah, when we dropped her
all
off.
3 of us flew 1,000 and we dropped her off at the university. And What did I do? It was so emotional.
Well, we were getting ready to say goodbye, and I turned around and it was like, "What's that noise?" It was you.
What was I doing?
You were crying.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting being the dad, masculine feeling, and the mother, my wife has a very different relationship, at least on the outward appearance, with my daughter than I do. So they're much more talkative and on top of each other. My daughter and I would wrestle all the years growing up and still needle each other, but that was kind of our style of relationship, more toward humor and needling. And so when we dropped her off, it was just, it's all about feelings for me. I can't give you the words to describe the feeling, but there is a pull apart, a separation that goes for me. And as I said to somebody, it's like the energetic bonds are being pulled apart and ripped apart. And that's how it is felt. And even though I very much know the Michael Beckwith agape saying that your children do not come, what is it? Your children come through us, but they don't belong to us. And I really got that idea afterward, because looking at her pictures, even early in the morning when I still do my gratitude work, I can just feel how the energetic has been pulled apart in a way as she has become herself on her adult life now. And no longer does she belong to me or belong to us. She never really did, but it felt like it when it was daily, every day involved with it. And so there's a shift and a pull, and it was sad. Yeah. And sometimes it's still sad, but not nearly as much. It's been a short month.
Yeah, I think the first week was probably the hardest. I think it really hit me walking to the airport. That's when I just started crying.
To leave?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to the airport and I'm going to start crying. Got to the airport and got to the gate, and it was just the two of us. Like, we went there with like all her luggage, these two big suitcases, her small suitcase, and probably some other stuff.
Right.
And when we were leaving, and I kind of looked around, I'm like, I am leaving her here. Right. So that's when it hit me. And I'm, the security guard, we're trying to go through security. And, maybe he had seen a lot of that week because people were dropping their kids off.
Yeah.
But it was like I had to stop and gather myself to get through security, because that's when it hit me that, wow, we're really leaving her. So.
And to all outward appearances, I would appear to be the more outwardly emotional person. Daughter, and particularly, well, my daughter.
I don't know about the outwardly emotional.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't know. You're more dramatic.
Okay, but that's a way to say it. I'm more expressive.
You're more over the top.
I'm more expressive.
But I definitely, wear my emotions on the sleeve. They're different.
Your sleeves are rolled up.
No, they're not. Whatever. But anyway, it was like, we've talked about this. It was like pregnancy. Hold on. Like, someone can tell you what it's like to be pregnant, but until you are actually pregnant, you're like, whoa, there's a whole secret club here that no one told me about.
Someone can tell you what it's like to be married.
Yeah.
But till you get married, then it's something different. And till you go away to college, then it's something different. All these big initiations in life are things to be experienced, not to be analyzed, because the experience is so very different than the logical thoughts.
And so even though I prepared for a couple of years, and what I mean by prepared is I've been leaning more into my business,
right?
Knowing that she was going away and knowing that she didn't need me in the same way. So leaning more into my business, doing things that I enjoy. We started Toastmasters this year.
Right.
So just doing more things for us instead of for her.
Right.
So even though I prepared, it was hard. Like, the first week was kind of hard. The second week was better. The third week I was gone.
Well, you went out
Yeah, I went
across
out of
country
town.
to visit. She went to visit her mother,
Yeah.
who is 88
88.
years old. Yeah.
And so now we're back. And so being an empty nester is actually, it's quite interesting.
What if they have questions? Can you email us your questions?
Email your questions to ontheair@telus.net. And it doesn't have to be about empty nesters, although we did have several questions last month. Parenting questions.
Parenting questions.
So after going through this, do you think you can actually really be prepared for your child to leave or to become an empty nester?
No. All I could do was think I was prepared, analyze how I might get prepared, and pretend that I was prepared. But no, absolutely not.
Yeah, because like you said before, it's an experience.
It's an experience.
And so,
it's like Jimi Hendrix said.
What did he say?
Have you ever been experienced?
Is that what he said?
That was his song.
Okay, not familiar with that. Okay, so now she's in school and she gets sick for the first time being away from us. And so usually when she's here, I can do energy work on her. I do all my little potions and stuff. And really, her thing is she just sleeps.
We're very naturalistic, holistic.
My oil of oregano.
Yeah, non-prescription world.
But really, her go-to is sleeping.
Yeah.
So whenever she hasn't felt well, she'll sleep it off. She'll go and hibernate in her room for like 15, 20 hours and wake up and feeling much better.
Right.
But now she's in college. She has a roommate.
That.
She has a roommate. She's got classes. She's got friends. She's got people all around her. Like, this is the most active she's probably been in her entire life, like this consistency. So she calls, and I think this is like 1 o'clock in the morning. She calls, and it's like, I just threw up.
Well, wait, which one are we talking about? The nosebleed or the throwing up?
It's like it's a progression.
Okay.
So she throws up. I'm like, this is 1 o'clock in the morning. So we're working with her or talking to her. Then in the morning, she calls, and I'm glad you were like standing next to me. So she calls in the morning and says, I have a nosebleed. I've got blood running down my face. Okay, now, so she didn't have nosebleeds when she was here. So my imagination went to, oh my goodness, it's like just dripping blood. Well, go to, what did I say? It said, go to the, not the ER. Yeah, go to this, what is it called? It's a health center. Go to the health center. Or, I'm about to call, 911 for a nosebleed. And the funny thing is, like, over her 18 years, we never had to take her to the doctor, like to the emergency room or anything for being sick. We've always been able to deal with it. She went to a holistic chiropractor, and that was our family doctor, where they would work on her, adjust her organs. And so
she had never had a nosebleed.
So now she's gone.
You had never had a nosebleed in your life.
So she's gone 2 weeks, and all of a sudden she's got a nosebleed. And I'm like, so I'm imagining, and so I'm like, well, can you go to the health center? Da-da-da. And so Thomas, very calmly, what did you say?
I said something to the effect, no big deal. I had a lot of nosebleeds when I was growing up. I told her about the pressure point underneath your upper lip and the teeth line to slow the flow of the blood and keep your head elevated, that type of thing. But it's not a big deal. Typically, it's not uncommon at all.
The way that she described it sounded like a big deal,
because she had never had one before. She was probably being dramatic, and you imagine.
So she's like, "Yeah, I've got blood on my." So then she said, like, after all that, she's like, oh, yeah, I did scratch my nose because I've been blowing it so much. I'm like, well, why don't you lead with that? Because I'm jumping to, blood dripping. She's got a roommate. Like, who wants to be in the room with someone that has blood dripping all over?
Right.
So, yes, I overreacted a little bit as mom. And fortunately, you were very familiar with it.
Fortunately or unfortunately. Can we refresh that?
I just did.
Okay.
Email your questions to ontheair@telus.net.
So let's talk about this.
What are we talking about?
So our kids will go away. They either go to college or they go somewhere else or go to work, but most of them are going away.
Okay.
So what happens after that? Because that seems to be where people have the hard time after the kids have gone.
You mean like your life? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What happens after that?
Well, last month we did a show about this, and we had a lot of emails about how do I deal with this now that my child is gone? How do I deal? How do I cope? What do I do?
Well, for me,
So now that we've been through it, how do we deal? How do we cope? What do we do?
Well, let's see. I went to go visit my mom for a week because I had the freedom to do that. I didn't have to worry about, taking Mecca or you, like having to take her anywhere.
Right.
And then we start doing things that we enjoy. I've actually been going back to the gym more, which I had stopped doing during the pandemic, but I've started going back to the gym more. We've done Toastmasters. I actually ended up signing up for a year-long business training program.
Right, I know.
And then you and I have, been having fun. We actually made pancakes at 3:00 in the morning.
Right.
I don't think you've ever gotten up with me to make pancakes, So we were up. I was still on Pacific time, so I was wide awake. And I said, I want pancakes. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he actually came down and made pancakes. So we're stepping into a new us, whatever that is. That's how I see it. Why? What do you think?
Well, how I felt initially after we dropped her off and shortly thereafter over the next week was a lot of missing her, a lot of not loneliness, but noticing the difference in the house between her being there and not being there. In this our empty room vibe. And so I got it. It's after feeling sad and emotional for a while, I got it that I have to go on with my life because she's going on with her life. My wife's going on with her life. I have to go on with my life. I have to choose some new intentions or goals, if you want to call it that, and some new intentions. I have to see and be excited about my life after our daughter has gone away.
Yeah, because she's out there living her best life.
Right.
She's hanging out with friends, going out to dinner, going to the movies, hanging out in rooms, going to these interesting classes. So she's living her best life. And last month, some of the calls were talking about, what do I do with myself? Or I'm so depressed.
That's it.
Or
exactly.
I'm lonely. And what we talked about last month was we don't want our kids feeling sorry for us or bad for us or like we can't function.
Right.
Because that isn't them.
Right.
They don't want to call us and we're like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm so, then they're going to stop calling because, they have a life and they want us to thrive.
Right. And we want to thrive.
We want to thrive.
There was a transition period for me, and there still is.
Yeah. I mean, we're still transitioning.
But,
absolutely.
Like I said, I had to set exciting life intentions for myself now. And not that I didn't have them before, but in my sadness, I tended to forget them. And now I've picked up the speed again. I feel more powerful, energetically more consistent. And I'm on to my new life as you are on to your new life. And we're on our lives together and on our own. And our daughter is thriving where she's going to university. And even though she made herself sick by part of this transition, she's going to be fine. And she's actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
And making new friends.
So what is empty nest syndrome? It's right here. What is empty nest syndrome?
Are you pointing to that so I can actually read that?
Yeah, so you don't have to make it up and say that it's not a thing.
It's a feeling of grief and loneliness parents may feel when their children move out of the family home.
As you said before, we want to feel everything because we are having this human experience. So we want to feel it, but I don't think we want to stay in it.
Right. And I clearly want to allow myself to feel anything, whatever, because I know that suppressing feelings is not healthy for me. It caused illness that I had to adjust to. And so, yes, I wanted to feel everything that I felt, and I did, and I still am. But like you say, we don't want to
stay there.
Stay there because life goes on. She's going on. I might as well pick it up and go on.
Or the alternative is to be lonely and depressed and feeling grief
for an extended period.
Yeah. And it comes and goes, like, especially for the first couple of weeks, I would be perfectly fine. And then I would think of something or I would see something. And then all of a sudden, this wave of emotion would come over me and I would start crying or I would feel really sad. And then, so we're in week 3 or 4, I think. I'm close to 4. Start of 4. And it's already feels a lot lighter.
Yeah.
I'm excited about, things that I have planned for the future, but it feels a lot lighter. And I think a part of it for me was the uncertainty of what it will look like. Will I
mean? What does that mean?
Will I talk to her? Will I see her? Is she going to go to school and I, never hear from her? So a lot of my trepidation, discomfort was not knowing what it would look like. And so then she started calling, and chatting. Well, as much as she chats, we ask questions but she started calling and connecting. And so then that made it a lot easier.
The way she connects, this is just a style thing. She's not a big talker, but if she calls, then she will listen to us talk, and we will keep on the phone until she's ready to hang up, because she just doesn't engage in actual words. Yeah. It usually means she wants to stay on and at least doesn't connect. That's just a style thing.
Yeah, and so it's sweet. And so that has brought me a lot of comfort. It's like, and then I'll even say, turn on your screen so that I can see you. Turn on the video. Yeah. And so that helps, especially when she wasn't feeling well. It was like, well, turn on your screen so that I can see you, because her voice sounded, okay. But in seeing her, I could gauge, like, okay, is she on her deathbed? Is she da, da, da? And so then the other day, 1 minute, she's like, oh, I'm all achy, da, da, da. And then I call back to check. She's like, oh, yeah, I was hanging out at a friend's house. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, she's like, yeah, I took some Dayquil.
Oh,
I took some Dayquil and now I'm feeling much better. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So for us and for moms and for dads, it's really about trusting that we've done a good job.
Yeah.
Trusting that we've set our children up for success so that we can actually enjoy our empty nester time.
Right.
Okay, so according to Dr. Rachel Glick, some of the benefits of being an empty nester can include you rediscover yourself.
Which is, I believe, is necessary for a happy parent.
Absolutely. A better relationship with your kids, refocus on your marriage.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Better relationship with your kids. I wrote down it's a different relationship, not better, because better is simply a judgment. Okay. It's a different relationship as they move into their independent adulthood.
Well, you know what? It could be a better relationship depending on what your relationship was.
So but it's still a judgment.
Well, it was like, okay, if you were having like a lot of power struggles.
This is conscious parenting.
I'm saying you're stuck on the word better, and I'm saying I'm fine with better.
Okay.
Because if you maybe were getting into a lot of power struggles, or you guys weren't listening to each other, or fights or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go away and start living their own life and you're connecting differently, I say that is better.
Okay.
So I don't care if you have a judgment on better. It's like, it can be better for a lot of people. Okay, refocus on your marriage and intimacy. So it's like the first week, all I wanted to do was binge watch The Grimm.
The Grimm.
Which is a show on Amazon. It's actually an old show, but we just discovered it. And that's kind of how I got through our first week. I was absolutely exhausted and emotional and a lot of things coming up. Have dinner and binge watch
Grimm. Uh-huh.
And it was like, and I looked forward to it. It was nice. So we never did that, when she was here.
Right.
And so we're finding, our new rhythm.
Tell them what the email address is, please.
Well, you can tell them. It's right. Where is it? It's right there.
Then I will tell you. If you want to email questions or statements, email it to on the air, one word, on the air, at tellus.net, TELUS.net.
Or call in to 646-595-4274. We are here to answer your conscious parenting questions. And so another benefit that Dr. Rachel Glick says is fulfillment. Enjoying the fruits of your labor as a parent and appreciating all you have given and all you have been given. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, that's just as part of conscious parenting. That's just, to me, that's just a pillar. One pillar is gratitude. So thankfulness, of course, is gratitude. So yes, enjoying the fruits of your labor as a parent and appreciating is gratitude, appreciating all that you have given and have been given. So that's just a form of appreciation, which we as conscious parent always want to do. I practice it consciously on a daily basis every morning when I'm first thing in the morning.
Absolutely. Okay, we have some questions. Let's see here. You want to read? Can you read that?
I can read it. If it's Stacy in New York,
Stacey,
is that what you're saying?
Stacy in New York, yeah.
I've just gone through this as well. My son is off to college now, and I've been feeling surprising amounts of emotional moments. It comes in waves. I find it so hard to function with normal everyday things. It feels like grieving the loss of a family member, even though they are fine. They are just somewhere else. I don't think anything could have truly prepared me for this. Any advice you wave would be greatly appreciated.
Stacy in New York, someone did describe it to me. It is grieving because you're grieving the shift in the relationship. And I don't know that there's any way to do it other than to allow yourself to go through it. And so for me, like I said earlier, I would get these waves of emotion. It's like, where is this coming from? I could be in the middle of the shower, I could be cooking or doing something completely unrelated.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this sadness or this grief would just come up. And I would just pause and I would acknowledge it. It's like, wow, this is just a normal part of life. So I would let myself feel it, cry, go for a walk, do whatever I needed to do. But then I would refocus my attention. So I didn't want to suppress my grief and my emotion. So I will allow myself to feel it, but nor do I want to stay there. We as parents love our children dearly and we raise them, but then we let them go. We give them back to their higher selves. We give them back, trusting that we've prepared them. And so then, Stacy, you got to find things that bring you joy, that excite you, friends that you enjoy hanging out with. I mean, for me, being a homeschool mom, a lot of my relationships were Mecca's friends' moms.
Our daughter's
friends. And so, which was fine. But then, that changes, the dynamic changes as the kids get older. So I have a couple of, friends here that I can go to lunch with. But really, I started looking at what do I want to do with the next chapter of my life? Because she's gone. And this is what we want as parents. This is what we prepared for, to raise these conscious, amazing beings. And so, Stacy, I invite you to honor your emotion, to honor your grief, but then to focus on what's going to bring you joy. How can you be a contribution? Because you did not come here just to be a mother. That's part of it, but you have your own life purpose to live. And so start looking at what is that for you? How can you be a contribution? How can you participate in this thing called life in a way that excites you and lights you up. What do you have to say?
Well, I think you said 98% of it
That's
perfectly.
okay. Go ahead. Go for it.
No, I think Stacy in New York, I think you're doing great. I agree with my wife 100%. I know from what you have written that logically you understand what's going on and that your son is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't make yourself wrong for feeling whatever emotions you feel. I think that would be key and number one important.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you feel, it's just what you feel. And if it's sad and lonely and all that, let it be. Just don't try not to judge it as right or wrong or good or bad. It just is what it is. And you've got all the logical information there, and life will just start to change with a little time. And you will find dreams that maybe you had as a child
Mm-hmm.
that you set aside for your parenthood period. But your son has gone off to college. That's kind of the truth of it. And you are into your next phase of adulthood as well. That's kind of the fact of the matter as well. So make your next phase of your life exciting to you.
Outrageously exciting and fun.
And it's easier said than done in the midst of this, but that is the end goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be an example to your son.
And start small. Like, you don't have to have these lofty, start small. Like, each day, wake up and ask yourself, what would be the most exciting thing for me to do today?
That's a great question.
And maybe it's read a book. Maybe it's go to work and invite a friend to lunch.
Ooh, maybe it's eat pancakes at 3 a.m.
Maybe it's eat pancakes at 3 a.m. Maybe it's join a yoga class or a book club. But just start doing things that sound and feel exciting to you. And then you'll gain a momentum of wanting to do more things, because you want your son to know that you're okay. So you don't want your son off to college worrying about you. And so you just start taking care of yourself and doing those things that make you happy. And as Thomas said, maybe there are some things you've been putting off to raise your son. And so you can revisit those.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps. Thank you,
those
Stacey.
Those dreams that we so often leave behind in childhood. We may be in a position now to where we can pursue them. Whatever they are, right? Because whatever they are, we've done our duty. We've raised our kids. Mm-hmm. And so, So thank you, Stacey in New York. Denise in Toronto. As a single mom, I've had my last daughter leave this year, and I think it's doubly hard because I come home to a totally empty house. Yeah. I'm having trouble adjusting. I'm even thinking about adopting a cat. Any advice for a single parent empty nester? Thank you, Denise in Toronto. It's the same advice, really. It's find things that are exciting for you. Yeah, even little, big, medium, if it's adopting a cat, then adopt a cat. If it's traveling, then start traveling. If it's finding a book club or going on a singles cruise or a singles meetup, has lots of singles events. They have singles hiking. They have singles book clubs. They have singles card games. They have singles movie nights and stuff. And pursue a spiritual community that you may wasn't interested in before. Yeah. But, as a single person, then you still want to take care of yourself and find things that are exciting for you. Yeah, absolutely. Whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're old or young, because it's that excitement that creates a vitality and a life force energy inside of yourself that's actually going to keep you healthy. Yes. And if you start with anything, little, big, anything, then that will start to build and create more energy for other things. Then you may realize something that you really want to do as you continue that direction. Yeah. And, I think exercise is key. Walking.
walking. I mean, walking. I like to swim. I like to walk and work out. But exercise actually releases and increases the endorphins so that you just feel better. Like no matter how bad I may be feeling, if I go for a walk and start looking at the trees and the beauty of nature and the sky, it's like it's a healing space. And so whenever, you may be feeling lonely or something, go for a walk, join a walking group, for singles.
Toastmasters, a speaking group, anything that you may have wanted to do or explore that challenges you, kind of go for it. And
take an art class.
Take an art class. Yeah.
Yeah. The library has a lot of free events for adults. There's like the YMCA. So there's a lot of organizations that have free things for adult enrichment, adult education. So just, why are you laughing?
I just flashed on, there's probably empty nester support clubs. I don't know if that's a good idea.
I know, because you want to, unless they're actually about creating and thriving.
You want to create your next phase of life. We do. I mean, that's the idea. And we go through this transitional period, and maybe it never ends, maybe it does, but we still want to create a pretty magnificent life at all possible. That is a great demonstration to your children.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want you to live an awesome life.
Thank you, Denise in Toronto. You want to read Heather in New York?
Heather, another New Yorker. When my kids left, I found the hardest thing for me was a loss of identity as mom, day to day. I still struggle with it, and it's been almost 3 years. I'm wondering how long it takes for that part to get easier.
I think 3 years is a good amount of time, Heather. To be honest with you.
Doesn't mean you have to leave the identity of mom behind.
Because you'll always be mom.
But maybe add some more identity to mom.
Yeah. As a homeschool mom, like for 18 years, that was my primary identity. I'm a homeschool mom. That's how I would introduce myself. I'm a homeschool mom. So I get that. So you're always going to be mom. And you can shift and be mom plus. And still, mom plus Heather. Like, what does Heather like to do? So instead of thinking of the loss, think of like, wow, okay, so look what I did. And that goes back to what Dr. Rachel Glick was saying, the fulfillment. Look at what I did. I raised these amazing kids. And so now it's my turn. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it for myself. I was all in for 18 years, homeschooling, being there for every activity and event. And I absolutely loved it and would not change a thing. But I also knew that it was going to come to an end at some point because, we want them to fly. And so I'm still mom. And she still calls and asks, for support and help and stuff. But I'm also mom, like finding out who I am in this phase of my life, looking at what do I want to create? What do we want to create as a couple? Where do I see my next 5 years, my next 10 years, especially since we're not spring chickens anymore. So, we really don't want to spend a lot of time not being fulfilled because we're already in our 60s. So we got a late start with the parenthood thing. And so now we don't have a lot of time to think about our loss. We want to focus on what we can do next. And so Heather in New York, you got to start small. It's like we've been talking about. Wake up each day. What sounds exciting to me? What is the one thing that I can do that feels exciting?
Nothing is not an answer. That's not an option.
That's not an option because your spirit wants to thrive.
Right.
And so, yes, nothing is not an answer. And like Thomas said, it could be making pancakes. I was laying in bed wide awake last night thinking about, I really just want pancakes. And I finally just said, "Do you want pancakes?" And he's like, "Yeah," because that sounded exciting. We went downstairs, put on some music, and made pancakes and had the best time.
Ooh,
What?
yeah, you know what? What I was recognizing about that experience was what I was saying to my wife was, I want to be unpredictable. But really, what it means is spontaneous.
Mhm.
So just do something spontaneously. Don't think about it. Don't plan on it. Don't plan it out. It can be just little things inside your own house, but do something. Dance across the living room floor.
Because that was very spontaneous for you. Like, I don't think you've ever gotten up in the middle of the night. Mecca and I used to go down and have pancakes sometimes.
Right.
I don't think you've ever gotten up and had pancakes with me.
Right, but I did that on purpose. If that can be spontaneous, can I be on purpose and spontaneous?
What is it? What do you mean?
I don't know.
Yeah, anyhow, it was fun.
It was fun, and it was out of my usual wheelhouse.
Yes.
And so let's get out of our wheelhouses.
Absolutely.
And let's thrive, or at least start to thrive in any kind of little bitty way, because our children want to see us thrive, and we want to see our life is more than just our children now.
Absolutely. And so so anyone that has a conversation of, well, I don't have the money to do X, Y, and Z, we are not talking about money. No, abundance is about really creating joy and laughter. So the pancakes didn't cost us anything. You may be driving down the street and see, whoa, there's a park there that I've never noticed before. And stop at the park and sit under a tree. So it's not about having to go on these luxurious trips, which is fine too. But when you think about what feels exciting, it could be anything. It could be going to get a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
I got a haircut for the first time in years. I used to go to my hairdresser in Los Angeles, and then I went to a barber, and now we're here, and I couldn't find anyone to cut my hair. I went and got my hair cut. And that was like I was like thinking about that for 3 days of how exciting it was going to be to have my old hairstylist cut my hair.
Right.
So when you think of excitement, it's whatever that is for you. Maybe it's getting a haircut. Maybe it's getting a new hair color. Maybe it's growing your hair out. Maybe it's trying new makeup.
Maybe it's shaving your head.
Maybe it's shaving your head. Be outrageous. We're adults.
Yeah, we can get away with a lot.
Get away with a lot. So thank you, Heather, in New York. But really, I invite you to enjoy your life, honey. You've chosen to be here. You've done an amazing job as a mom. And so now it's time for you to enjoy the fruits of your labor and go remember who you are as Heather outside of being a mom. Because you are an individual, you have your own life purpose. And so just start remembering that. And you remember that by just little steps each day, going for a walk, reading a book, watching a show you would normally not watch, whatever it is. So thank you, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we have any more questions.
Nicole. Bingo.
You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net. 595-4274. I was negligent and did not get my books, but I have books. No. Actually, I can point to them. No, I can't because they can't see them. So I have books to support you on your conscious parenting journey. It doesn't matter because they're on the radio too, so they can't see
Oh, okay.
Tips and Trips of Parenting.
All of these are on Amazon. Sandra Jones-Keller on Amazon.
Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid. And that is a family labor of love. Mecca our daughter, wrote 5 stories. Thomas wrote 1 story, but Thomas did all original illustrations. And these are snippets of our life. They include pictures and illustrations and stories about how we raised our daughter consciously.
Mm-hmm.
21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid is just what it sounds like. They're meant to be done as conversations. There's 21 lessons. I talk about grounding and meditation and visualization. But more than that, I really talk about beliefs and affirmations, and it's to empower kids to have agency over their own lives. We have some questions. Tina in California. Go
Tina in
ahead.
California. Being with my kids was such a source of joy in my life. With them gone, I find it challenging to get excited about things. My doctor even put me on antidepressants. I'm surprised people don't talk about the challenges of empty nesters more. It's really hard. It's really hard. Any advice you have would be great. Thank you for doing this issue now.
Okay, so thank you, Tina in California. So according to Dr. Glick, some of the downsides of being empty nesters include sadness, depression, loneliness, lack of purpose, meaninglessness, relationship issues, anxiety, loss of control, regret, and low self-worth. So those are some of the downsides according to Dr. Glick and other professionals who have talked about being
And what's
empty
the
nesters.
upsides?
Well, the upside is, Tina, you have an opportunity to rediscover yourself. And so you said you find it challenging to get excited about things. And so I invite you, and this is what we've been talking about the whole evening. I invite you to take small steps because a small step will lead to a bigger step. So when you wake up in the morning, what is the most exciting thing for me to do right now? Is it having a cup of coffee, making breakfast, going for a walk, calling a friend, whatever it is? But you want to start the momentum.
Cultivating.
And when you do that, you'll find that more things will come into your consciousness and awareness of, wait a minute, I thought about doing X, Y, and Z years ago. Maybe I'll revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's any magic formula, Tina. I mean, like I said, I've been preparing for this a couple of years, especially because we homeschooled, which means we spent a lot of time together. And my whole life was centered around her and her activities. Okay, you're driving her here. I'm driving her in this day. She's doing this. She's doing this. And so as homeschoolers, we spent a lot of time together. And like now that's all gone. It's like she's off. And so what I've done is I'm doing what I suggest to you. I wake up each day. Okay, what sounds exciting for me today? Okay, maybe I'll go to the gym. Oh, maybe I'll work on this project. Maybe I'll work on this project. Maybe I'll create a new Toastmasters speech.
Or take a walk.
I mean, I actually jumped into a year-long training program, which I had not intended to do. But it came before me. I really liked the program and the women teaching it. And so I hopped in, and you kind of thought I was crazy. It's like, why are you doing that now in the midst of, this transition? But it's perfect timing.
Well, what I realized was everybody does it in their own way. And your way and my way look different initially, but that doesn't matter. They can look different. They can look
like
very
what do you mean they look different? Like, what does that mean?
Well, you immerse yourself in this training, and I actually set aside time just to feel myself go through this event instead of occupying myself with anything.
Okay.
That was just my strategy.
That was your strategy.
Yeah.
So we had two different strategies, but really
both were right.
And it was really about creating a fulfilling life for ourselves.
Yeah, because our children are gone. They're off to college and then they're going to create their own lives. So it's almost like as conscious parents, we have a responsibility to ourselves now to create a life that we're thrilled with. And we just start anywhere.
Start anywhere. That's good.
Yeah.
Start where you are. But moving and walking, you got to move your body because all that energy gets impacted and compacted. Yeah. And then it just builds and builds and builds. I was traveling this past week and I was driving while I was in California and my whole hip locked up. And then my neck, literally my whole right side locked up from just the stress of traveling, from the stress of everything. I came back, I went swimming and went to the gym, and it's like all of that energy started releasing.
Right.
So you've got to move your body.
You got to move.
In whatever way that you like, yoga, Pilates,
moving your body
kickball,
moves the energy in your life, in your consciousness, in yourself.
So thank you very much, Tina in California.
Clicks.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Tina in California. Yeah, what else?
Parenting. Conscious parenting is unique in that it doesn't focus on changing the behavior of our kids.
Right.
It doesn't change. It doesn't talk about, it's not about behavior modification and what's going on out there. Conscious parenting means we are being conscious of who we're being, whether we're being parents or partners or people.
Yeah.
And so we want to be conscious empty nesters. And what I mean by that is I want my daughter to want to talk to us.
Absolutely.
I want her to want to connect and engage. And I feel that she will continue to do that as we thrive.
Mm-hmm.
But if your kids are calling home and you're depressed, you talk about that you're always lonely and they start feeling guilty for having left, then they're going to, eventually start drifting away because that energy is so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about being conscious parents, it's a whole process. I mean, it doesn't like just stop when we become empty nesters. It's like, how are we going to be conscious empty nesters?
Right.
And what does that mean? And for me, it was like, okay, my daughter's sick. I'm not going to get on a plane and go up there, even though that was like my first impulse. She's got a bloody nose. Oh my God. So he like calmed me down and I calmed down pretty quickly. But trust that you have set your kids up for success. And I think a lot of the anxiety comes from worrying about, are they okay? So trust that you've set them up for success so that you can take all of that energy and redirect it. Amazing life
for yourself. I think that you nailed it on the head. I think that's beautiful.
And maybe you will have to fly up there and take care of them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's really about, it's all okay. If that's what you need to do, then do it. But we want to live conscious lives, and conscious lives are being responsible for who we're being.
Mm-hmm.
How am I contributing? And, being available for our daughter, but not like being all over there energetically.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to say,
what do you want to say?
Reiterate that the teaching of Agape and Michael Beckwith and a lot of other spiritual communities, our children come through us, but they do not belong to us.
Absolutely.
They must go and fly and spread their wings. We must go and fly and spread our wings as well after they've gone.
Absolutely.
Or let's say we have the opportunity to, and as conscious beings, don't we want a magnificent life regardless?
Absolutely. And we want to be living examples to our kids, no matter who they are.
Yeah.
And so I want to be an example of thriving now that, our daughter's gone.
Right.
And, I've got a lot of things that I want to do. You have a lot of things that you want to do. So
exactly.
We're doing it. Okay.
Thank you for your emails and questions and conversation. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. And so I have 2 workshops to support you on your conscious parenting journey. Passionate Parenting in This New Age. This virtual workshop is perfect for parents looking to reduce power struggles, stress, and anxiety with their tweens and teens. And it will also, as empty nesters, help you to get in touch with your own creativity and ignite that in yourself so that you're using that toward your life. And with this workshop, you'll learn tools to foster more peace, passion, cooperation, and joy in your parenting experience. And in DIY mindfulness for tweens and teens, students learn practical mindfulness concepts for everyday life. Topics will help them recognize and manage their emotions and teach the power of their thoughts. They'll also gain tools to help them regulate and ease stress and anxiety. And both of these virtual workshops are self-guided so that you can do them at the time and pace that works for you. As I mentioned before, I have 3 books to help you on your conscious parenting journey: Intuitive Communication with Your Baby's Soul, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, and Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid. And all of those books are available on Amazon. Well, Thomas,
Sandra,
we've come to the end of another show. So visit the News for the Soul archives. This is actually our 29th show. So if you're just finding us, go to News for the Soul. You can watch 28 other entertaining and enlightening shows.
you can see our daughter. She has been on every show up until one.
Now, because she's living her best life. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank
You're
you,
welcome.
my dear, for being here. And the Conscious Parenting Show is live the second Friday of each month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on News for the Soul Radio. And I'm broadcasting also on my YouTube channel, Sandra Jones-Keller. So if you want to see what we look like, visit us on YouTube.
This is what we look like.
So tell all of your friends. And for more information about me, visit my website at sandrajoneskeller.com. Until next time, happy parenting.